Hey, you guys, and welcome back to the Real Talk Girly podcast. I'm your host, Disapproval Joe, and today I'm here with
Sarah.
This is my friend Sarah. We met at the same Starbucks that we talk about a lot on this podcast, but something that really caught my attention about Sarah is that she had a really fun story that she told me about working at some really cool jobs, and she actually used to groom dogs, like cut their hair and stuff, and she met a ton of like the celebrities and stuff, and I was like, so if my friend met the celebrities, and I technically met the celebrities in a way. So Sarah, I would love for you to tell us more about these dogs, celebrities that you caught. Like, were they good dogs? Were like the people cool? Like, what was the vibe like?
The vibe was chill. I think a lot of these celebrities, they maintain their dogs really well. However, I never really get to meet them. It's usually like their assistants that drop off and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I've met some of them. Now I'm nervous.
It's okay.
Yeah, I really don't have much to say other than they were chill. They don't tip well.
That is always surprising to me because it's like I feel like I've heard so much like it's either like a celebrity tips super well or they don't tip at all, period.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like there's like no in the middle.
There's no in between. Not a single bit.
So what would you say like your favorite thing about like that job was?
The dogs.
Just the
Definitely.
dog? Yeah.
You meet some really good dogs, and I used to work with a lot of rescue dogs, so that was the fun part where I got to help rehabilitate these dogs.
Yeah, and you also did this in LA, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So what made you decide to move to LA?
The culture. I love LA. It was so fun, and I feel like growing up seeing it a lot on TV, with that whole we talk about all the time, the 2000s culture, the early 2000s culture.
100%.
And I was just like, I want to be right in there, in there.
I feel the media has done a really good job manipulating people into like such places like LA, and for me at least like New York City, of how like they look so fun and like there's just so much opportunity and like fashion, like early 2000s, especially like we're like reality TV, like Jersey Shore and stuff like that. Like I feel like we feed into that lifestyle and we just want a taste of it.
Exactly. And then not to shy people away, but it's definitely not like it looks on TV at all. It's so different.
Would you say that there's some things that the media represents that is true when you went to LA?
Yeah. I would say the whole club scene and the celebrity scene is all exactly like it looks on TV.
What would you say are things that are not as appealing as the media makes it look like to see?
Every other part of LA. What they show on TV is just Rodeo Drive and Beverly Hills, and they just forget about the rest of LA.
It's funny because once again I feel like the media only wants to show the beauty and the things that stand out, but everything else is irrelevant, so why even show it?
Exactly. And with LA, there's so much more culture. There's so much more to it than just Beverly Hills. And I feel like a lot of people don't realize that because they just never leave that area.
And I feel like we just see that a lot in the news too. Like I feel like we focus so much on celebrities and pop culture, which obviously is amusing to us, but there's so many other people in this world, even though they don't have as such higher status, they are not equivalent or they are not seen as important enough to bring up in conversation.
Exactly.
And I feel like that's why so many people feel the need not to reach out for mental health things, and it's as if their value doesn't matter.
Yeah.
And I feel that really saddens me, and I've been learning a lot in my field of mental health right now of how there's so many people that are in need of mental health things and stuff like that, and it's if someone has the money and the status, they're going to get it 5 times quicker and more efficiently compared to someone who doesn't have those valuable things.
Exactly. Because the rest of us just have to rely on health insurance and hope for the best.
Basically, yeah. And I just feel like the thing that I want to know is what is considered who decides the trends and what is going up for the news or for the media to see who makes that high decision. And it's because it's changing all the time. So what is in and what's out, who gets to keep calling all these shots?
Right. I wonder that too, because I feel like you don't really know, and then all of a sudden it's trending on TikTok and you're like, where did this even come from? Who decided this?
Yeah. And I feel like that's a big thing in the music world right now too, is people are getting noticed for their music, but it's only for maybe half of the chorus or half of a bridge, something. Right. But it's not the full song.
Exactly. It just becomes a trending 10-second
Sound.
on
And
TikTok and Instagram.
see, if like with my music in particular, like I don't want to be known as a sound. I want to be known
Right.
as an artist, a creator, a songwriter. You know, I don't want to be known as a sound.
Exactly.
And I feel like so many people now are fixated on just the fame and getting noticed. And like you said, like that LA life of like the media making it look so appealing that even drew you in to be a part of, to see what it was like. And it's like the grass is not always greener on the other side, but people still tried for that 1% chance of getting a glimpse and into that social circle of that
Right.
fairy tale like unrealistic life because they still believe that it's real. I feel like we're all guilty of that sometimes. Like, you know, sometimes like with the city, like, you know, New York City and stuff, I see all the lights in the stores, the fashion and live music, and I love that. But at the same time, I know that there's another portion where there's a lot of violence and a lot of, you know,
Yeah.
rents are really high and stuff. So it's like you have to, I guess, find a balance of the reality and the social media aspect of what it shows and what it doesn't show.
Exactly. It's not like what you see on social media at all.
Yeah.
Either city, any city, really.
So if you like, let's say someone was like in like their 20s or 30s and they wanted to go to LA, what advice would you want to give to them?
Be prepared to pay an extreme amount in rent.
Would you say, so rent is obviously very expensive, but what about like, you know, like everyday life? Like, you know, would you recommend them having a car or
Oh, definitely. The public transportation barely functions.
really?
It's not a walkable city. It seems like it's a walkable city, but it's not. I mean, it's definitely, you know, you can definitely walk, but
Do you think it's more expensive like to have like Ubers and taxis and all that? Or do you think like just having a car is more expensive?
I think having a car is probably the best bet. Because obviously Ubers are going to rack up and then you get like surge pricing. And the only thing is, though, with having a car is like the parking situation. The parking
Right.
situation is not ideal. Street parking is very hard to find. There's not a lot of parking lots. You have to pay a mass amount for just a parking lot, anyways. So half the time I would end up Ubering places. And at that point, I was like, well, why do I even have a car?
Yeah, it kind of goes like back and forth. It's like some days
really
it's more
does.
convenient for one, more convenient for the other.
Right. And that's why I was like, I wish there was like actual reliable public transportation.
Yeah. And you kind of maybe had a hot take today, but we'll leave it to you guys. But Sarah has been from New York and she also went to LA. But did you say that New York drivers were better than LA drivers?
They sure are.
Now, you guys will have to make a poll or something, but we'll have to see what you guys think about that. I've never been to LA, but I don't know. New York drivers, sometimes I see some good and some real bad ones, but
No one in LA knows how to merge properly.
oh my God.
That's the main qualm here.
What did we find today at Five Below that was really awesome? You got like some type of keychain today?
Oh. Less honking, more tonkin'.
Definitely iconic find. Five Below. If you ever want to sponsor this podcast, like by all means, please.
I beg.
Your graphic tees today were very much giving. Which ones did we see today that we want to buy? A Shrek one that said, "I'm swamped."
Said I can't today. I'm swamped. And then, of course, the Twilight shirt.
The Twilight shirt, and believe we literally went to like 5 stores in the mall today. Only one of them had a Twilight shirt. All the other ones, like they were just there for display, but they ran out.
It was tragic. Truly tragic.
Oh, what's her name? And then at Urban Outfitters, they had a Jennifer. How do you say her last name?
Oh, Coolidge?
Coolidge, yeah, something like that. They had her for a shirt. Oh God, there were so many good graphic ones at
The
Five
Titanic
Below.
shirt?
The Titanic shirt they had at Urban Outfitters. That was iconic. There was some really good ones at Five Below though. They had the Cheetah Girls, Hannah Montana.
Oh yeah, the Hannah Montana one.
Oh God, there was just a lot of good ones, and don't even get me started on the Spencers. Oh my God, they really were just speaking our truth.
You can't go wrong with an I Heart MILFs shirt.
Literally, there were so many good things. I love how like it seems like a lot of like these like clothing stores are bringing back like graphic tees and just being like more rebellious with stuff, because I feel like back in the day it was just Spencer's and Hot Topic.
Yeah.
But now we're seeing so many more stores like wanting to piggyback off that and keep starting off with like those kind of like early 2000 trends.
Yes.
Like kind of like the blunt tees that like just say like what we feel.
Exactly. I kind of really like it.
I feel like Paris Hilton wore a lot of stuff like that with like the Juicy Couture and just like boyfriend shirts, whatever. And I love stuff like that. Just like shirts that just like kind of say like fuck it.
Exactly. Like I really love like a cheesy slogan t-shirt.
I love stuff like that. And like when they have like crop and it just like will have like any fun saying, like short and to the point.
Yeah, exactly.
Because sometimes it'll be like, like a paragraph of a saying. I'm like, okay, that's kind of a lot.
Exactly, yeah.
But
I'm not talking like the keep calm and carry on
oh
shirts.
my god,
No, that's a little too
no.
cheesy for me.
Oh my god, what was that? Like 2013 core?
Oh my god, yeah, like 2012, 2013
Oh
core.
my god, I remember those keep calm and like, and remember it was like the TBH rates.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my god, those would get so personal. I remember being in school, people would be like, "Why'd you give me a 7 out of 10?"
A 7 out of 10.
Like, no, like at my school, they'd be like, "Don't talk to you very much, but you seem chill." 7 out of 10. Like that's how they would be.
Yeah, and it's just like it was kind of weird.
That shit is crazy. So also like living in LA, so like like with the Ubers and driving a car, kind of goes back and forth, like you said. But what would you say is like another thing that was shocking to learn in LA? Would you say compared to here in New York?
Um, I was very surprised at how many people were actually trying to climb up that social ladder.
Like trying to be a part of like the fame in that little circle.
Yeah, like just everyone seemed to be chasing that. Just like even random coworkers, like I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It was just like it seemed like all anyone ever cared about was like being liked on social media and getting followers and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I think that like when I left LA, that's when I was like, I am kind of over social media right now. So I'm currently on a social media break, but it's like, I don't know. It was really toxic. And I know not all of LA is like that, but a good majority of it is.
Yeah.
Everyone's just trying to climb.
And it's like, it's like sometimes people move for like to advance, like, to get something
Right.
of a higher social status up. At the same time, it's like when someone lets it consume their everything, it's like
Right.
they're kind of not living life anymore.
Exactly.
And if you let like numbers and followers like consume you, like that can be very toxic. Like obviously like for some influencers and celebrities that is their life and it's what they rely on.
Right. For a lot of people, it's their income, which I understand.
Right.
So it's like, of course, yeah, you're going to want to try to climb up higher.
Yeah.
But if you're just trying to get into a club and that's it, you know, like what purpose is that serving?
I actually saw this episode. This show is called The Orville. It's like a Hulu exclusive show, and it had an episode. It's basically like a different reality of like of a world, and basically these people basically only survived in how many likes they had. So like let's say a girl had 500 likes, that means that she's good, and they didn't. And their form of payment is like, let's say they went to a coffee shop.
Right.
Okay, you need to have at least 10 likes to get a coffee, and then they use it like that. So then she'd be down to 490. But like let's say someone found the girl doing something that was controversial, then she like gets dislikes.
Right.
So then she loses people, and like let's say like in a room she has to have at least 100,000 likes, and if she doesn't have that much, she can't go in that room.
Right.
And then sometimes if people got negative likes, like they don't even have any, then they have to be sent to jail and stuff, or even like killed. And I feel like, as drastic as that world sounds, that is kind of a reality that people live in. And I feel like LA would count for something like that.
That's kind of what it feels like, where it's like if you post something that somebody doesn't like, they're going to tell their friends. And then, and especially if it's in like your same social circle,
And I feel like, like if somebody gets mad over one little post or one comment, it's like it doesn't show that the friendship was that strong or could withstand many things.
Right.
It's like obviously like, sometimes with friends you may say the wrong thing or do something that they may not like, but if you approach how you feel about it and you just like say I didn't like there, I don't appreciate it, and then you move on, that's fine. Get over it. It's like, okay, like it was talked about, whatever. But like I feel like cancel culture now in our society is so much more quicker.
It really is.
Like there's some artists that I love since I was a kid, but now all of a sudden they're all canceled just like that.
Yeah.
And it's like, why are we letting this one person who has basically raised us ever since we're young kids in pop culture and stuff, and they do one thing we don't like and that's it?
Right.
And it's like, in that case, like people who are not celebrities, we do stuff all the time that may be bad, but we don't get canceled because we don't have that status.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like, do you want to have status and be put on that pedestal to always be scared of losing, that status and being canceled, or have no status and you get to do what you want, but then you're not noticed?
Right.
It's like, which one do you want to pick?
I know. I feel like I've been on both sides of the spectrum, and I'm just like, even to this day, I still don't know. Some days I'm like, oh yeah, I want to go post on Instagram all the time, and then sometimes I'm like, no, I think I'll just not. ever post on Instagram ever again.
Yeah, so actually, fun fact. So I recently had a live show at this place called Funk and Waffles. I posted the video on YouTube and stuff. If you guys want to check it out, feel free. Sarah was there, and a lot of my other friends were there to support me. And I posted it on my Instagram, and I only post on Instagram like when I do something for like for my music or my friend's birthday, whatever, anything like that. I'm not going on my way to post, to say the least. So I kid you not, about like a week or two after I made that post, someone must have saw it or something, or some word went around, and I get a call from a no caller ID, and it was these people pretending to be fake fans of mine and mocking my voice and pretending to sing some of my songs. And I was just like, who is this? Who is this? And they just kept mocking my voice, pretending to like my song, just like, very like immature, just rude stuff. And it kind of triggered me because back in the day when I was in high school, this type of same behavior happened to me. So it's like, like I put myself out there and it felt great because I know my friends were there. I had a good time. It was a really awesome moment. And the fact that I had someone do that and try to like, take away that from like, make something negative out really hurt my feelings. And it's like you said, like, like when we put stuff out on the media, we're going to get people to like, and, because I got a ton of awesome comments like, you did so good. I wish I was there.
You did amazing.
But then there's also some people that are going to go to the extreme just to try and bring you down.
Yeah. And exactly. Like, what is their purpose doing that?
Yeah.
That's so stupid.
And it's like, I feel like no matter what with social media, if you put something out there, you're going to get feedback, whether you ask for it or not.
Positive or negative.
And I think like, that is something that we all just have to be prepared for if you want to be like an influencer or anything social media, like, or even just like post anything just like in general.
Exactly.
But I do understand what you were saying, that like sometimes like you go back and forward, and I do the same thing. Like, sometimes like if my body doesn't look up to par, I feel nervous about it, or certain angles, certain levels I want to show of myself. Or sometimes like I'll just like post my friends in the picture, but not me, because I don't like how I look in it.
Right. Yeah.
But I've been getting a little bit better about like, wanting to post more and stuff, just because like if I feel confident in something, I want to be able to remember it and see it for my own self.
I feel like I currently am struggling with that because I'm like, I will purposely go out of my way to avoid being in a photo because I know it's probably going to be posted on social media.
Right.
And if I don't like the way I'm feeling that day, or if I don't like the way I look that day, I'm like, I'm not going to get any photos because I don't want to be on social media like that.
Yeah.
Like, it's just having that control over what's on there and what's not.
It's kind of ironic because like I feel group photos I'm not as insecure about because there's so many people, so I feel like there's less focus on me. But if it's just me, then I get all the focus, and that's when I get a little bit more nervous.
Yeah.
Because like at least for me, like with a group photo, I can like remember it as like the day, and there's like more stuff connected to it.
Right.
But if it's just me, and if I'm getting like negative feedback or something, I get a little bit more scared because I don't want like to see all that negativity and stuff. But like I feel like, putting yourself out there on the media, I give anyone credit to, because it can be scary. It's hard. Some people go on there and tell like their whole lives and, all that. And like, I do that to some extent, obviously, like with the podcast and my music, but like, like the daily vloggers and, know, stuff like that, get ready with me's and all that. Like, that's like a lot of time and effort to do. And, to see someone so naked and raw like that, I feel like shows like a lot of confidence in that individual. But I think it also helps normalize that, like how we said, like LA is not everything it seems. Just like these influencers, they don't wake up with, breakfast right at their table like that, and their face all perfect, makeup to the dots. Like they show their get ready with me's and how they actually start their days.
And like, fun fact, I used to want to be a daily vlogger. Ever since I discovered YouTube when I was really young, I've always wanted to be a YouTuber. And I just never really did it. And then when I moved out to LA, I was like, oh, I have an interesting life now. I'm going to do that. And the more I was around people who were vloggers, and the more I was around people who were like constantly on social media and that was their job, and I could really see how it affected them, I kind of just like, I realized that I said, maybe that's not for me, And as much as I'm like interested in it, and maybe I'll do it someday, but like, I don't know, I kind of just pulled back from it because I was like, I don't think I can handle that.
And I feel like, with the environment you were in LA, and you were around people obsessed of wanting to make it in that type of industry.
Right.
And it's like, on one hand, like we said, like, like the glory of it and everything we see in the media is so fascinating and so appealing. But then when you see how much it consumes somebody, it's like, do I want somebody to consume and control me that much?
Right. And like we were talking about earlier how I was really enjoying just like fully being myself. But also at the same time, you can be yourself, but you also can't fully be yourself without constantly being judged.
Exactly. It's like, and something I've been told by a lot of people is like, you're not doing something right unless you have like one or two haters.
Exactly.
And I feel like, it took me a really long time to accept that because I've always been like a people pleaser when I was younger because I want people to be
Yes.
so happy with what I did. Especially when I was younger making music. Like if one person didn't like something or made fun of my voice, it really hurt me. Especially because music was my only outlet. So when someone
Right.
was coming after the one thing that made me happy, it
Yeah.
felt very attacking.
Yeah.
But I think like the biggest thing is like we need to be able to encourage ourselves with things we like to keep us motivated.
Yeah.
And we talked about earlier today when we were out and about having a little brunch today is like, sometimes we're going to be alone.
Yeah.
And I feel like sometimes as humans, we depend on other people, like our best friend or significant other, to help us and take care of us like religiously nonstop. But it's like, it's nice to have someone in your corner to help, but sometimes we need to take care of ourselves and we being able to have that power for ourselves.
There is so much power in being lonely.
Yeah.
Like being by yourself. There's nothing I love more than spending an entire day by myself. I
Yeah.
absolutely love it.
I feel like I understand that to an extent. Like some days I like to be alone by myself, but sometimes I do get lonely.
Oh, of course, yeah.
But I think like the biggest thing is like, if I'm in a struggle and there's no one that can help me, I feel like, I'm in a place where I can feel dependent on myself and I don't have to run to somebody.
Right.
And I feel like some people are so quick to run to somebody and feel
Yes.
that they need someone to fix all their problems for them. And it's like, that's not my job. It's like, I'm going to be there for you no matter what. But like sometimes you got to
Right.
fend for yourself.
Exactly. I think that's one of the big life lessons I've learned is that no one's going to come save you.
Right. And the biggest thing is that sometimes we expect it.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that comes, I feel like, by being around some people that maybe I can't say this well, enablers or maybe like how you were raised by parents, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like we have to be able to fend for ourselves, whether it be financially or in situations, whatever. It's like we can do more than we expect of ourselves. And I feel like sometimes we forget that because of our dependency on
Yeah.
others.
Yeah.
So, but I feel like the biggest thing is like if someone can't reach you at that moment or if somebody gets busy or can't help you at the moment, we cannot take it personally. We have to just
Right.
like, they'll get around sometime, da da da. It's like, obviously if they blow you off for like a whole month, then yeah,
That's
obviously don't give
tragic.
a flying fuck. But, you know, sometimes people get busy with work because like we're all in that age now, like people have kids, they're working, whatever. So it's like we can't take offense to it as much. But
Everybody's got their own lives and their own problems going on as
right.
well. And I feel like a lot of people forget that.
And it's like if someone can't get to me right away, it's like we have to learn to not take it as personally or like an attack.
Right.
So, I feel like, like when people say no or something, like no is just like such like a negative word.
Right.
But I feel like sometimes no is a positive word.
Right.
And I think we need to start looking at like that, like, like not giving into a higher power, not giving into the control, the manipulation, whatever. And I feel like sometimes we drain ourselves so much for other people to please their needs, and there's nothing left for us.
Exactly.
And then that's when burnout and loss of motivation happens, and then we just have no energy for anything else but for other people.
Right.
And I just know that I have had that happen to me of giving myself all to other people and being left with nothing for myself to the point where it's like, am I living for other people or am I living for me?
Exactly. I found myself in that same situation where I just was constantly trying to fix everybody around me, and I was like, well, what about me? What happened there?
And like I think the biggest thing that people forget is like, how can you be there to support other people if you can't even support yourself?
Exactly. You got to fill your own cup first.
I feel like sometimes we have so much pride and we have like this plate and we just love to overfill it because we want to prove to ourselves that we can do it all.
Right.
And I think sometimes it's okay to admit that we can't do it all at one serving.
Yes.
Sometimes it's a buffet, this world, and we got to go back for multiple plates.
Exactly.
And
you get it.
I think it took me a long time to be like that because once again with the people pleasing and feeling like a perfectionist and all that. Because I feel like when you're raised by certain people, they make you feel you have to be like that.
Right.
And especially in the environment you were in with LA, it's like you're in the environment where like everything's got to be like top notch, the best of the best, because that's what they're known for. But like you
Exactly.
said, that's not the reality because
It really isn't.
they don't show the other sides of LA.
Exactly. I feel like I was definitely raised the same way where I was like, always have to help everybody else, always have to try to fix everybody else, I make everybody else happy.
Yeah, and I feel like no matter where you go, whether it be LA, New York, it's like obviously the media is going to show the best things that it has to offer.
Right.
But no matter where you go, there's always a downside to a place you're at, whether it be the temperature or maybe there's some violence, whatever. Like there's always a negative. No place is perfect.
Right.
But I think at the end of the day, the place you stay and live at, it has to connect with what you want in your life.
Right.
Like maybe if you really were invested in influence life and social media and stuff like that, then maybe
Yeah.
LA or New York. But
If that's what you want, then do that.
yeah. But some places, if you want to settle down and just like have like a little country house, whatever, then
I'm in that era right now.
I know you are.
I just entered that era.
It's like, I feel like, we get certain eras of our life and I feel like we have to experience them and not stay in a comfort zone of the only thing we know.
Exactly.
So we can expand of what we really want, who we are. Because I don't think we're just one thing. It's like, and we kind of talked about this too a few days ago. It's like, I'm not just Joe the barista. You're not just Sarah the barista. Like, we're so many more things besides one title.
Yeah.
And I remember actually Kelly Blake said to me this once, and Kelly was on one of our podcast episodes as well. If you guys want to check that out, she was in the mental health one about yoga. It was Act versus React, so definitely check that out. But anyways, something she said was that something that we do in this world is we put labels on things just to simplify it.
Right.
Sarah, barista. It's like, okay, that makes sense. I understand what she is, but what else?
Exactly.
We label things so quickly and easily. Same thing with like, boys are blue, girls pink. It's like, but why?
Right.
Like, because it makes sense to people and they leave it at that.
Exactly.
And on one hand, it's like, I understand why they do it just to simplify. But the other hand, it's like, not everything is black and white.
Right.
And I feel a lot of times people forget that, whether it be in LA, New York, wherever you go.
Exactly. And I feel like a lot of people try to limit themselves. And it's like, you can be this, and this. You don't have to be just one thing.
Yeah. And I feel like, sometimes like some people let their jobs define them to an extent where that's all they are.
Yes. Yes.
And that really frustrates me, at least for me, because like, I don't like that people just view me as one thing. It's like, and that's why sometimes like when someone asks me, like, like, oh, wow, you're here all the time. I'm like, and I kind of stick up for myself. And I'm like, yes, I am here all the time working 40 hours because I'm using it to pay my education for my master's.
Right.
And I'm also recording an album for mental health. And when I tell them that, Sarah, they go like, oh, wow.
Yeah.
Like, it's like they're just in disbelief.
I have to add that, like, when I left LA, I also left my dog grooming career. And, like, when I moved back here and I was telling people that I no longer want a career, I can't even describe the looks on people's faces when they're like, what do you mean you don't want a career? Like, I just want to live my life. I feel so trapped in a career. And like, whenever I get into a career, I forget about everything else. It's only work.
Right.
And there's so much more to life than work. It's insane.
Yeah. And it's like, because of that label of like, a career, you're labeled as that career and nothing else outside of it.
Right. Like, why can't I just have a day job? And then the rest of my life is what matters.
Right.
Work isn't the only thing.
And I feel like, we sometimes we need that to keep us motivated to enjoy ourselves and award ourselves, because if we don't have that, then what are we doing it for?
Exactly.
And because like, I feel like sometimes as well, back to like that people pleasing topic, sometimes we enjoy and fixate on helping other people to avoid our own problems.
Yes.
Because we feel that's easier, because it's like, well, I know what they need to do. And it's like, we're helping somebody, but we're not helping the root of our own problem.
Right.
And, that also can be very intoxicating. And sometimes we need to just like, spend the time and really ask ourselves those deep questions like, what am I even doing here?
Exactly.
What is this for? Who is this for?
Right. Because I know, like, my old career was not for me. I wasn't doing it for me. I was doing it to pay my bills.
Yeah. So what even led you to the dog grooming thing in LA? Like, what made you even want to like do that in LA?
Well, I first started working with dogs here in Syracuse, and then I I don't know, it was just something that I was good at. So I just kept doing it. And then when I went to LA, I was working in retail, but then I was like, well, there's so many more like dog grooming opportunities out here. Why don't I just do that? Cuz like I
Yeah.
said, that's where the money was and that's what I was good at. So it wasn't necessarily like something that I was even passionate about in the first place. It was just a random job I got when I it was like, I don't know, 2014 maybe when I got my first like dog washing job and I was like, well, this is fine. I'll just do this.
Yeah.
And then
And
I just continued it and then I eventually like went to like I was in an apprenticeship program. So like
mhm.
I was a dog bather and then I became a dog groomer. They like sent me to like a little school and I learned there. And then I was good at it, so I just continued to do it. It didn't I mean it made me happy to a point, but it was like it wasn't what I wanted to learn long term.
Would you say that it made you happy just because like you knew you were good at it and getting paid for it?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's another thing too is like, I feel like we are sometimes programmed and sometimes we're just gifted in certain things that we're good at,
Right.
but that doesn't mean that that's what we should be doing.
Right.
Like I've been told I'm a great writer. So I've been offered to be like an English teacher and like just like anything writing related. Everyone's like, you need to do that.
Right.
And, I love to write, don't get me wrong, but like I don't want to just sit and write all day.
Exactly.
And that's why I love the field of mental health because I want to analyze, I want to know the if, the whys, and talk to people, and then I can write reports and help them and stuff. Like I want something like that to advance with it. And same thing like with music, like I like to write, but I also want to sing and like do different things with my voice and sound
Right.
effects to tell a story beyond the words.
Exactly.
It's like, I know if I were to do everything right now and just apply to be a writer for a blog or anything like that, I know I could do it easily.
Yeah, that's why I'm like if I wanted to go get a dog grooming job, I can go get one tomorrow if I wanted to.
Exactly. It's like we have the tools to do things right now, but we choose not to because we want to do something beyond that.
Exactly.
And see, we're labeled, once again, as our good friend Kelly said, we're labeled of doing certain things and who we are, but we're more than just beyond those labels.
Yeah.
And I feel like we have both been victims of being stuck by those labels because you ended up doing grooming dogs for quite some time. And I know within my life, I was manipulated by people to be in fields, classes, and do things that I didn't want just
Right.
because I excelled well in them.
Exactly. It felt like it was what I was supposed to be doing.
Yeah, it's kind of like, like everyone's got to be married, have kids, the white picket
Oh my
fence.
god, don't even get me started.
Yeah, and it's
I'm like
like,
I'm turning 30 and like all my friends are getting married, my friends are having babies and I'm
right,
just like not for me. But I felt like that for a long time because that's what I thought I was supposed to be doing. You
right.
know? Like I thought I was supposed to be married by now, but I'm not and that's perfectly fine. I don't want to be.
Yeah, and I feel like, like we are fixated on so many stereotypes and certain beliefs that we see other people do, and we feel we have to jump on the train just to
Exactly.
feel, you know, like at the same level as somebody.
Right. Yeah.
Like I feel like so many times people just get with other people just to say that they have somebody to help with income reasons.
Yep.
I feel like a lot of it, it's not because of the main purpose of love and attraction. It's
Exactly.
because how much can this person benefit me?
Right.
And that really saddens me.
Yeah.
I see that so much, like, and sometimes I'll talk to people about certain relationships and they'll tell me straight up, like, oh, they're not the one. Oh, I don't know what they are.
Yes. I come across that all the
And
time.
I'm just like, then what are you doing?
Exactly. Leave them. But I can understand that a lot of people get sucked in and then they're so dependent on that person
Right.
and they're just kind of stuck.
I think like some people like to experiment with other people if they're new
Right.
to it. Like, sure, I get that. But like, if you're doing it simply to suck someone dry of everything they got, it's like,
Right.
are you really happy with that?
Exactly.
And I've met a lot of people that do that for their own pleasure and for their own success in their eyes. But it's like, once that person's out of what you want, it's like, what are you going to
Then
do?
what? Yeah.
I feel like, our society has become so hungry with like that LA fantasy that we talked about
Mm-hmm.
and, what the media shows, but like everything looks so glamorous, but there's so many layers to it.
Right.
And I feel that people need to stop fixating on the one label and look at all the other labels behind it.
Yes.
And I really wish that the media and pop culture would embrace that, because even though it's not glamorous, it's real.
Exactly.
And that's something that I feel is super important. Like, like that's why I love when I meet certain people. It's like, who are so raw and they don't have to put on a big show or look like they're the best of the best. It's like, they can come as they are, and that's good enough.
Right.
And I feel a lot of people nowadays just can't do that.
Right. I think even in just the last few months of alone, I've learned a lot about like not having to be the best, you know? Like kind of like how when I was a dog groomer, I just did it because I was good at it, And I just don't want to do that anymore, I don't want to do something just because I'm good at it, and I don't want to be the
Yeah.
best at something anymore.
And I feel like we were talking today about certain things we like, and you said you wanted to try crocheting.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that you don't have much experience with it, and you may not even be good at it when you first start,
Right.
but you still want to do it.
Yes.
And I think that's great to do something that you're not good at, because who knows, you may be good at it, but that's not your goal. You're not trying to
Right.
be the best fit. You just want to see if it's something you like.
Right.
Same thing, like you went to Starbucks and you wanted to see if it was something you liked.
Right.
And that's the end of it. It pays some
Exactly.
bills, and who knows, maybe you'll do something 1 month different from now. We don't know what the future holds, and we talk about this
Exactly.
today. And it's important to know that, like, in a way, it's good to know we don't know what's next, because it keeps us motivated to see what's out there.
I have a quote on my wall that says, "Don't be afraid to suck at something new."
Yeah.
And I look at it every single day, and I'm like, that's exactly it.
I think, like, for me, like, I make a lot of short term and long term goals. Like, my long term goal obviously is to be in Manhattan and
Right.
have my own apartment and stuff. But, like, my short term goals are kind of just like, just like mental health things, like maybe like
Yeah.
getting a walk in, or, making sure I do like a nice face skincare routine. Like, anything that I know that's going to help my mental health to keep me alive and going for the big goal.
Yes.
Because I feel sometimes we need those little goals because we're so focused on the big ones that are years away. And it's like, but we need something in that gap.
Right. Exactly. And I remember you said that to me, I don't know, it was like a month or so ago, and I have thought about it all the time because I'm like, what are my little goals to get me to the big goal?
Yeah. And something that really inspired me was that I was with my friend Kendra, and we were at Funk and Waffles actually. It was
Mm-hmm.
about a month or two before I did my live show. And I like, because she also is big into music and she wants to write and sing as well. And we were both like, we need to do this. We both want to do this so bad. So I literally was with Alicia, and we were in Armory Square about like a month later after that. And then I went to Funk and Waffles, and I said, look, I would love to perform here. Here's my contact information, and I can send you some of my stuff. I would love to do
Yeah.
that. And they were like, well, that's not really for us. So here's the guy who runs it, and email him. So I did. I emailed him and I sent him all my music and accounts, and he listened to it, but that's all computerized,
Right.
obviously.
Right.
So he wanted me to do a live performance. So I went out of my comfort zone and I did a live singing video of me singing a song
And you did
that I
amazing.
wrote. It actually wasn't that. It wasn't the song that I performed, which is a different song that I sang
Oh,
for
okay.
him. And he gave me awesome feedback. He said, like, the pros and cons of it, which I really appreciated. And then he offered me to go to open mic night, and I was like, like, I don't know if I should do this and everything. But I kept thinking about that moment with my friend Kendra, and I was like, I know that this is something I want to do.
Yeah.
And I was like, you know what, I'm gonna make it happen. And it became one of the best
You
nights I ever
did the damn
had.
thing. You did the damn thing. I'll
it
tell you that.
it was just so, it felt like an out of body experience of like, when I was able to be Disapproval Joe on the stage, it just felt like that character finally got to be born. Like he has been when I put on music and stuff, but like to actually have him on stage and the fit and the attitude,
You looked like you had the time of your life up there. I'll say that.
and I didn't let that label of Joe hold me back, because Joe
Right.
has fears and anxiety and a lot of things, but Disapproval Joe doesn't live with any labels or nothing. He doesn't give a fuck. And that type of like, alter ego
Yes,
saved me.
yes. I think everyone needs an alter ego.
I really feel that at
Create
times
one.
too. Like, you know, I feel like sometimes, like, if someone has like a celebrity that inspires them or a song, an alter ego, it's like we need that to kill all those labels that put us down.
Yeah. When I was in LA, my alter ego, she was out all the time. I lived my life. And having that alter ego kind of gave me that comfort zone that I craved while being outside of my comfort zone.
Yeah. Would you say that, is there anything that from LA that you miss now being here in New York?
Um, just, I would say probably like, there isn't a lot to do here.
That's fair.
Where it's like, first of all, we have winter. So, like, there isn't much to do in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, the weather in LA being, like, kind of, like, warm and... I mean, it's chilly in the winter, but it's like you could still go out and do things outside if you wanted to. But here, it's like, it's so cold you can't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, you could, but it'll be painful. That and, like... I don't know. I feel like there was just a lot more to do. Like, there was always events happening, always random things happening, like random pop-ups you could go to. Like, I went to a Harry Styles pop-up one time just for fun.
Right.
Because we could. And, like, I feel like I can't... There's not really things to do like that here.
I definitely agree that here where we live in Syracuse, it's very limited, and sometimes it can be dangerous in the areas you're in, which is also unmotivating to be a part of. But that's why I love New York City so much when I went, because there was always stuff going on. I was only there for like 4 days once and then 7 days another time I went. But like the amount of stuff that was available to do was just ungodly, like just so much. And like for someone that has like a little bit of an anxiety of doing stuff like that, it's like once it's like just a few steps away, like, you know, because like the ride getting there, if it's like 20-30 minutes away, you're like, oh, I don't know if I should go, I don't know if I should go. But like if it's like right there, it's like, well, shit, might as well.
Yeah. That, and I really, really, really miss the queer community in LA. I feel like there were so many queer spaces you could go to, and here there's literally like 2.
Yeah, I would definitely say with the LGBTQ community, it's definitely more outgoing in certain places such as LA.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's
There's
more
always
encouraging.
stuff happening.
I definitely would say, like, when I was in New York City, when I was able to embrace some of my looks, I got more attention from people that were kind of like in my realm and my scenery and that reached out to me. But here I kind of get more looks of like what's going on here.
Right.
And that's a little unmotivating when I feel like I have to be, once again, fit that label of what this world wants me to be.
Exactly.
And I just don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to have to be, you know, the suit and tie business suitcase type bitch. Like that's just not me.
No.
I do not have any dress pants or button-ups in my closet. And let me tell you guys, my closet is ginormous. I have a shopping addiction with things. You will find leather and a ton of graphic tees from the 90s to present. Okay, and my favorite one is my Hilary Duff 6X freaking 2005 concert of her. Hilary Duff, I love you so much. Please get back in the studio.
Please, we beg.
I love you so much. You inspire me every day of my life. But oh my god, yeah, I was talking about Hilary Duff and I forgot about everything else. I'm sorry. Oh my god, she is. Oh god, I just love her.
She is pretty cool.
But I think that, like, you know, it's really interesting to hear that, like, you know, from your point of view and experience from LA, it's like, obviously there was a lot of cool things that you got to discover, like an alter ego of yourself, meet new people, celebrity dogs, and you also got to be independent.
Yeah.
And also you learned that, you know, the obsession of fame and that drivenness to be seen may sound really fun, but the obsession of it can just not even make it worth it.
Right.
And
because there is no top of the mountain with that. It's you just have to keep climbing and climbing and climbing.
I really like that you said that. I feel like, you know, in life we're trying to find the top of something,
right?
Like the final destination, but in life there is no final destination.
Exactly.
And I feel like, you know, when I say I want to go to New York City to get my apartment, it's like that's not the end for me,
right?
It's like that's like my big goal, but there's gonna be so much more beyond that,
right?
But obviously that's the big goal I want to get to now. That's the top of the mountain I want to get to now, but then there's 20,000 other mountains.
Exactly.
Our journey isn't done until we pass.
I just recently learned that, like, I don't know how to explain it, but it was like turning 30 has made me realize that, like, oh, there isn't just one big mountain I'm trying to climb. I have about 400 mountains I need to climb.
Yeah. And I think that's just so fascinating. It's like, like, I feel like a lot of people when they get older, it's like once they have the kids, the husband, the wife,
Yes, they
it's
think
like
that that's the mountain.
that's the mountain.
But, like, what about the rest of your life?
Right. It's like, like now you're just going to be catering to your kids and just helping them. But it's like, but what about you?
Exactly. And then that sucks out, what, like 18 years of your life?
Right.
Potentially more?
And it's like, I'm not trying to, like, say that, like, having kids and stuff is a bad thing. Obviously
Right.
not. But, like, my thing is, like, once again, labeled as mother and father, but they're more than that.
Exactly.
I am not just dad who, takes care of the kids, bring them to baseball, cook them breakfast. Like, what else is dad?
Right.
Does dad like to play, sports, video games? Does he like to go to concerts, color? I don't know.
Right.
We need to be able to be more than just one thing.
Yeah.
Because this life was made to do so much, and like we said, where we are located in the area we live, there's not much to do sometimes, but that doesn't stop us from being able to.
But there's a literal whole world out there.
There's a whole world.
There's a whole world. Like, that was another thing that also, when I was in LA, I was just struggling. The cost of living was so high, I couldn't do anything else.
Right.
I couldn't travel. But, like, moving back here, it really opened up a whole world of opportunities where I was like, oh, like, I can actually go do these things now.
Yeah, 100%.
And I realized that there was so much more to life than just that one mountain I was on.
Yeah, I really like this idea of the mountains. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like we're so fixated on just one, but there's multiple.
Right.
Well, Sarah, I would like you to give, what advice would you like to give to someone that is dealing with a struggle of a label? What would you like to say to them?
I would say really look inside yourself. See how much that one label really means to you. And I guess, I don't know, I'm blanking.
It's okay.
I would just, I guess, like, look inside you and see how many more labels you want compared to just that one, if you can fit more. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I like how you said if they can, because at the end of the day, it's up to them how many they want to incorporate in their life.
Exactly, yeah.
It's like when we say labels, you obviously, it's not a competition that, oh, I have 7, well, I have 25. It's
Right.
like, it's like
how many do you want?
How many do you want?
Not how many do you need, how many do you want?
I think that's the key thing. How many labels do you want versus what you need? I think that's a great thing to say. And for me, I want to say if someone's dealing with labels, I would just like to say, are the labels things that you feel about yourself or things that people are fixating on you? Because for the longest time, I was labeled as things that I didn't feel I was, but people told me I were.
Yeah.
So I want people to find the difference between those.
Exactly.
But you guys, thank you so much for joining this Real Talk
Thank
Girlies
you.
podcast. Sarah, thank you so much for joining us today.
Happy to be here.
I really enjoyed your stories and the inside world of LA and the highs and lows of it. And we hope to talk to you guys again soon. Thank you again. Bye.
Bye.